Hey guys, welcome back to Calibrate Tools DIY channel. I hate when my caulking gun drips all over the place. Let's talk about some solutions to fix that. See you right after this. All right, so everybody knows that one of the most frustrating things about applying caulk is that it keeps dripping from the nozzle even when you're not squeezing the trigger. It's inconvenient and messy. So in order to stop that, you got to press this in right there and pull the rod back so it can stop. You see, with a regular caulking gun, which is spring loaded, that pressure is still being applied to the caulking tube even when you're not pulling the trigger. That's why it drips. And even when you do release the pressure, the caulking tube may still drip at the end, but it'll stop on its own eventually. If you don't release the pressure, it'll drip, drip, and keep on dripping. Now, fortunately, today they have caulking guns that have drip-free settings on them, like this one. You can set the caulking gun to drip or not to drip. Well, why would you want it to drip? Certain construction adhesives, or what they call cold polyurethanes, flow slower out of the tube. So you want constant pressure to be applied to the tube when you're caulking. So in cases like these, you would set the caulking gun to a non-drip-free mode. In other words, you want it to drip. So on this caulking gun, the way you would apply the non-drip-free mode is by leaving this red button up, just like it is. Other construction materials like silicone or acrylic flow much faster, so you want your caulking gun to be set in a drip-free mode. Otherwise, you saw what happened earlier in the video. To set this caulking gun to a drip-free mode for those faster flowing construction adhesives, you want to press the button down. Another feature on this caulking gun is the high and low force settings. When you're dealing with those cold polyurethanes and construction adhesives that are more difficult to push out of the tube, you want the setting to be on high. How do you set it on high? You hold the trigger here and you pull down. When you're using those faster flowing acrylic and silicone materials, you want it on a low force setting. So you just take the trigger and you push it up. Now there's a couple of ways to cut the tip on the nozzle. You can take a knife and cut it, but if you do that, make sure you cut the tip at a 45-degree angle. Just like that. Why is that? Why at a 45-degree angle? I know some people are going to debate that. Well, when you're caulking, you're actually caulking at an angle. And by cutting the tip at the 45-degree angle, it gives you a smoother bead as you caulk. Some people say, cut it at a 90-degree angle. It'll fill the gaps in better. Well, you can do that too, but the bead won't be as smooth. Now, if you didn't watch the first video on how to use a caulking gun, you may not have known that some caulking guns have a hole right there, an orifice. And when you squeeze the trigger, you can actually cut the tip of the nozzle. And that's why it's there. So let's just say this is our tip. Stick it in there, squeeze the trigger. So for example, on this caulking gun right here, the hole is up here. And you can actually see a blade pass by the hole when you squeeze the trigger. So let's pull our rod back so we can put our tube in. Press that in, put that back, place our tube in here. And we put our setting on a drip-free setting. So let's see what happens. And it's not dripping. I'm letting go of the trigger and it's still not dripping. It's not coming out, I should say. All right, so we see that the drip-free feature works. Okay, so let's try the non-drip-free setting. So we're just gonna push down on the back of the red button. Well, on this setting, it doesn't seem to be dripping either. But then again, this is construction adhesive. a little bit slower moving. And I did have it on a low force setting. I should have had it on a high force setting. So let's do that. There you go. It's coming out slow, but it's dripping. Still not dripping that fast. It's a real slow drip, but it's dripping. And that's what you want. It doesn't have to be gushing out with these slower moving, colder materials. Still dripping. Now here's another type of drip-free caulking gun I came across. Now I didn't have the right size caulking tube for this one, but that's because the push plate, which is what I'm going to show you in a minute, was too big for the tubes that I had. In other words, this tube right here was too big. So as you can see, there are different size tubes. This is a 28-ounce tube. This is a 9-ounce tube. So make sure you get the right size tube for your caulking gun. So let's take a look at the push plate in this one. And I think we'll be able to improvise to be able to put a tube in here and have it work. Gonna unscrew the shaft here. And there you see this push plate. Okay, that's what this is. This is what pushes the caulking out of the tube when you squeeze the trigger. This push plate is too big for this tube. Can't get inside. But let's take this plastic piece off by unscrewing this nut. And that should leave us with this metal push plate, and that should be small enough to go inside this tube. And it is. So let's try this. Put that back on there. Okay, so there you go. So let's put this back on. And let's take this piece off. Let's pull back our rod. And it does come with these nozzles, about 3 of them. We're gonna put that there. I'm gonna throw this over top of it. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to cut our tip, our nozzle. So I'm going to use a caulking gun laying around with the hole right here to cut this nozzle tip here. Now I want to cut it at a 45-degree angle, so I'm going to angle it away from the nozzle before I cut it. I don't want a 90-degree cut. If I did, I would put it straight on. But I want a 45-degree angle, so I'm going to angle it away just a bit at a 45, and then I'm going to cut. So let's try this out. No dripping. All right, guys, you just saw a couple of ways to solve that dripping problem when you're caulking, aka drip-free caulking guns, or at least caulking guns with a drip-free setting. If you like content like this, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Check out what I have in the description for you, and I'll see you next time.